Join us for a review of the new Mini Countryman plug-in hybrid. Also together with the presentation of the updated changes here. All about that. The official naming is Mini Cooper SE Countryman ALL4. A little bit complicated, indicating the trim and the electric all-wheel drive. But let's just leave it with Countryman plug-in hybrid or Countryman PHEV. Everything you need to know. An exterior, interior, driving, technology and so on. Now here on Autogefühl in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. In the front we can see round mini shapes, but then again here in the Countryman with a stronger look. This facelift, which counts for the whole model family, also changes a little bit of the grille design. Here the plug-in hybrid counts as the S version horsepower-wise, so also has the sportier styling overall. There are new lamp designs here, and you start with LED from base, and optional a matrix LED is available. And you can see here the daytime running light around it. And also another one would be in the lower part. The length is at 4 meters 30, 14 foot 1 or 169 inches. Talking about inches, 16 to 19 inch wheels are available for the Countryman. These here are the 18 inch wheels with the black design, and that really gives a good contrast here to the bright vehicle color for today. Also styling here with the high gloss lower spoiler and also the door handles. The plug-in hybrid version comes with a special design element, but also functional element right here. The logo, which has this E, but at the same time signalizes a plug. And then you can open it, and also this is where you also recharge your vehicle. So it is very prominent, but very well executed from the design. The same also counts for this, upright SUV look. Big crossover cladding, and then the whole black area here in the top part as contrast then to the vehicle paint. And one more time in the close-up, charging is maximum 3.7 kilowatts, so that would take about 3 hours to charge fully then, and battery 10 kilowatt hours or 8.8 kilowatt hours net, and it's also here then illuminated with this ring. Electric range 50 kilometers or 30 miles. In the rear we can see the typical bulky hatch shape, actually quite strong here with this integrated facelift. Also you see the Union Jack tail lamp design now that was done for the normal Mini before, now also carried over to the Countryman. Then the black big lettering here. The plug-in hybrid version has this E badge here as well to see it, but still a real exhaust pipe. So the design in the rear actually, it looks playful as usual for Mini, but really with some premium details. So the whole build quality on the outside is actually quite impressive. Let's open that hood, and yeah, gas struts, very cool. And here, this opening is of course very cool here, where, the opening for the lights, they just stay right here, of course. Yeah, always unique. And also here an E-badge then for this engine. So the Mini Countryman in general, 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engines or 2 liter 4-cylinder engines, both for petrol and diesel. And here the plug-in hybrid is based on a 1.5 liter 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine. Then combined horsepower output is 220, so 220 horsepower, and 6.8 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. Front-wheel drive then with the combustion engine, plus rear-wheel drive with the electric motor in the rear. Then it gives you an all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive only if you are in the pure EV mode. This is a typical round Mini car key, but also keyless entry available here with this small knob. And see here, it doesn't work just like this. You really have to use the knob to open or close. Then door closing sound. Sounds quite solid. inside of the doors. Top part is here also somewhat soft touch. Then the typical round handles here, and you see also interesting that the open and closing button opens alongside it. Also here nicely finished window levers, then reasonable door pockets. Mini Cooper S entry badge, also for the PHEV. Then there's an interesting styling element. We see it here. It also has some kind of structure, but it's still just like, you know, like a very shallow wrap. Also soft touch here. Round steering wheel, the Union Jack design. Then seating would also start with some fabric seats. These here are, however, the optional animal skin seats. Soon also testing the seating comfort. So you see from the inside the plug-in hybrid version doesn't look too different. Getting inside, the Countryman is of course more spacious than the typical small Mini, and so also with tall adults, no problem as for headroom. 1.86 or 6'1", so a lot of headroom really. The seats, however, they are really stiff. The form itself is not the most comfortable one, and then especially when you have the animal skin wrap, then it's even tighter as for the seating surface. So I feel that the car should deliver more comfort, being the tallest Mini. Here in this case also with the manual control. This here then to control the back part of the seat, and here you can put the front part a little bit longer. Also with the manual control of the steering wheel, and you can see here these small digital instruments, they move alongside with the steering wheel up and down. Soon more to all of these instruments. We'll check it all out for you. Interior overview here, soft touch dashboard, and then the typical round Mini design right here. Houses the touchscreen meanwhile, and always comes with a 5-inch left and 8.8-inch on the right. Head-up display also available, but here in this separate plastic layer. Soon more details to the 3 instruments, let's call them that way. Steering wheel here with volume control right here. On the left side you control the cruise control, and in this middle part, first of all the touchscreen here with the GPS, soon more details to that. Still a manual volume knob. And then we have here the manual climate unit. That's easy to control by driving, like that. And a nice detail styling wise is always that we have here the, this cockpit layout for all Mini's driving mode, selector, start, stop of the engine and so on. And there are also really nice details, because when you, for example, pick the driving modes, then the interior ambient lighting switches according, for example, if you're in this green or eco mode, or in the sports mode, or also then in the eDrive mode. So every mode has different colors. And also the same happens when you control the climate unit. Then also this central gauge reacts accordingly to the red or to the blue zone. So again, some of these nice unique features. Then more on the lower part, non-adaptive cup holders. There's one USB-A supply in the front, huge shifting stick here, and then there's the optional option, not in the sense of that it's not coming standard, but you can either use touchscreen or this one here, this turning and pressing knob with some hotkeys for map and so on. That's good to have. And then there's also an inductive charging pad for your smartphone right here. But you can also fold it up, and then there's now a USB-C charger right here in the lower part, and some more space. Instruments, the thing is that especially the inside looks a little bit out of focus, so that should have been made better. However, the middle part will be where the digital speed will be displayed when running the vehicle. Right side fuel status, left side for the electric gauges, and as soon as you are in these yellow dots area, it will be look different when we drive. Then that you're still in the EV mode, and when you exceed it, then you will be in the combustion engine mode. And you can see also how the maximum boost is, or in this area you will be then within the recuperation when you lift the throttle or go a little bit on the brakes. Head-up display is a compromise solution. It's a separate small plastic layer. It gives you the speed and the allowed speed more in your line of sight, but not really that much in your line of sight, because once again, this a separate layer we have here. This is the main menu of the central infotainment. You have this app view, and you can also use the shortcuts, for example, to see the map, and then zoom in and out with the control knob in the lower middle console. And it's the known BMW GPS here, so also reaction times are actually quite good, and it leads you the way very well. Here are the vehicle settings, for example, like this. We can go to the options, and of course here the Apple CarPlay, wireless connection, as we know from the BMW. BMW now with the new cars also offers Android, but here only the CarPlay and only wireless. However, we have the optional Harman Kardon sound system here, and that is delivering a very crystal clear sound. So yeah, really good as for that. And this shows, and also, I mean, it's supposed to be a premium vehicle, and one of the things is that you can get such an extensive sound system. But overall, this infotainment system is rather basic, but I think you get along with that very well. Yeah, sometimes you think you can control it like this, but it's either here, the touchscreen like this, or then the lower part. And here you also have, for example, some visualization for this e-drive, but most of the time probably you won't use it while driving. Now to the rear. And we have then the rear part here, even soft touch this area. Only this here is, well, a little bit harder, but also not entirely hard. So that's good quality-wise, definitely. Also some leatherette insert right here. And yeah, rather simple and dark styling. In the middle part, we have now two USB-C chargers way down there. And you change the back part of the seats with these straps here, by the way. I'll soon show you how, or I can also do it right here already, because this is the way you would fold the seats. So you cannot do it from the trunk, you have to do it from here, and then you can see they also stay in this angle then, and you can change it accordingly. So this is the biggest Mini. Sounds weird when you say biggest Mini, right? It's like a contradiction in itself. So, but definitely works. Here, legroom wise, this works then with 4 tall adults, no problem. And as I said, you can also put this more in a sleeping position or a little bit more upright, for example. And sitting more upright here, also once again with 1m86 or 6'1", it directly fits also with my head, so no problem. The middle part here, the middle tunnel is not too big, so you can also sit in the middle seat. This would actually also work, so even 5 tall adults would work. ISOFIX at the outsides part each, and then this one you can either fold down as a ski hatch or here with adaptive cup holders. 405 to 1,275 liters is the boot capacity, so you lose about 45 liters here with the plug-in hybrid, so that's quite okay. I already folded one of the seats, but you have like an individual folding mechanism like 1-1-1, so that's actually quite cool. And when I put a backpack inside, you can see also the dimensions here also easily fits from the height. So overall, very well usable, I think. Some measures here. As for the length, this is about 80 centimeters and the width is about 1 meter. And the height here, below the cover, about 40 centimeters. And then the total length, when I have folded one of the seats, let's check it out. To my driving position, about 1.55 meters. Under the cover here, that's very interesting. You have the charging cable, for example, so a good clean spot for that. And then you have, as an option, this picnic bench here with magnets, and then you can just fold it here like this. There's also the protection then for the outside paint. Then you put it a little bit up, so it's directly over the sill, like this. Need some practice. So like this, and then actually a little, yeah, definitely softer to sit like this. So why not? And last but not least, the child safety test. No, I won't do it with my head. I just use the arms. Well done. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Mini Countryman plug-in hybrid. And very interesting, this concept here to have both drivetrains. And the cool thing is, when you're just starting slowly, then you're all silent in the pure electric drive. And when you need more power, then of course both powertrains are being applied. And we can also switch around a little bit in the driving modes. For example, we have this e-driving mode, then we can go to e-safe. Then some battery charge is reserved for a later stage when you may be coming to these possible new emission zones. However, auto e-drive, then the car just decides on its own when to drive what. This is actually the most efficient thing when you're just planning a route, and you really try to think about what's the most effective method. So for example, when you're on the motorway or drive a little bit faster, then the combustion engine is being used, and when you're in the city, then the electric drive is being used, for example. Then we can also go to the maxed eDrive mode. It's not available at this moment. Depends then also on the on the parameters, but this would then be a mode where it's really pushing it, that it's driving all electric. Maximum speed pure electric, by the way, 135 kilometers or 80 miles an hour. And the top speed of this vehicle, the total with the combustion engine combined, 200 kilometers or 125 miles. And most of the time you would just leave it in the auto mode, and then you don't really care anymore. You try to recharge it as often as possible and just let the car do its thing, and then hopefully have a little lower fuel consumption. Here at the motorway now, since we're in Germany, we also want to give you some motorway impression. At 120 kilometers an hour, the car is reasonably silent. As we know from Mini, even though this is the biggest Mini and an SUV, it delivers you a rather stiff driving feeling. The suspension is really stiff, and we can also show you the maximum performance. Here we can also drive a little bit faster. We also have the normal driving mode, either green for reduced throttle input or sports for increased throttle input, and then also automatic transmission also adapts to it. And we let us drop a little bit further behind. Now that from 90 kilometers to whatever. Plop, that's 150 kilometers an hour. That shall be enough for so far. And once again, noise insulation quite good. I don't have to raise my voice that much. And the car is remaining relatively stable indeed due to the stiff suspension. However, if the road is a little bit uneven, then that can be a little bit rough at times. So you have to think about also, when you think about the sibling, the BMW X1 plug-in hybrid, which we have recently reviewed, and price-wise they also come pretty close and they use the same technology. And the X1, for example, is definitely softer as for the suspension tune. So here you will really have to like this rather stiff go-kart feeling. It is definitely fun to drive, and it's also unique driving feeling, so it feels very sporty. Look at here, that slalom. Steering feel could be a little bit, a little bit more natural. Here in this low degree angle, the steering sometimes feels a little bit loose. So it's good and direct and precise, but a little bit more feedback in these low degree angles. That would have been quite cool. I go back to the normal mode, so going back from that sports mode. Yeah, it always takes so much time saying like which driving mode is in, and when you have the GPS set in that moment, then the view is blocked to the GPS. Yeah, that's a thing, definitely. But other than that, you can very well see that. And also I have in this, mini head-up display with the plastic layer, I also have like some arrows which would show me which way to go right there. The overview was actually quite decent. I mean, it has this rather box shape, so due to the sides and so on, it's okay. There is no blind spot monitor for this platform. Same problem with the BMW X1. For such an expensive car, here with everything equipped like 51,000, as it stands right here, we should also have a blind spot monitor, because so many less expensive cars already do offer that for sure. But again, the overview is quite okay. Yeah, the B pillar is quite thick, therefore a blind spot monitor would actually be very good. So when you have the plug-in hybrid here, of course recharging is very important, but also you can use the recuperation. So when you leave the throttle, the car's recuperating, and this is also giving you some more efficiency, even if the battery would be depleted. But here, when we still have battery charge, maximum pure electric driving of around 50 kilometers or 30 miles an hour, that's some kind of a standard case for plug-in hybrid, and I think that's also quite okay, and you can also very well use that. The cool thing is when you put it in all electric mode, it's rear-wheel driven only. You because front wheels are being powered by the combustion engine, rear wheels are being powered by the electric motor. And therefore more rear wheel characteristics. We felt that in the X1 review already when you have it all in the rear. Now I can also put it to max e-drive. Not sure why it wasn't possible before. The car always calculates like certain parameters like temperature and battery energy use, but now it's possible. And so at the moment we are rear wheel driven, and so when I also hit the throttle, and I feel that I more get the push from the rear. However, if I put a pedal to the metal, you maybe also hear that, then also the combustion engine hops on. This is a safety thing, that when you see, oh, I need to do like a very quick acceleration, then the combustion engine also goes on that you have the maximum power. So I go back to the max e-drive mode, then I also see it here in these small instruments, these like yellow dots, where I can still see when I'm just driving in the electric mode and when not, and also when I'm recharging once again. But when you have that car rather steady rolling, you don't hear it that much because the engine is not that loud, it's rather silent, so you don't feel so much from that. As for fuel consumption, fuel economy, it's really tough to say with the plug-in hybrids because it so much depends on how often you do recharge. And then you can give, when you predominantly use this car electric, then the electric consumption is higher and the fuel consumption is lower, and vice versa. So that's really tough to say. Sometimes we can say like when the battery is depleted, then the fuel economy more or less comes close to the normal petrol engine, and then you have a little bit more weight on the one hand. On the other hand, you have the recuperation possibility, which is then again more efficient, and sometimes this effect evens itself out. So on long distance, just going straight, it won't make such a difference. It's of course more advantage when you have some stop and go in the city and so on. But so far, if you all think about some tax benefits, then it might make sense here to go for the plug-in hybrid, and of course to drive emission-free locally. That's always the thing then. And this definitely makes, not everything, but our cities will be cleaner by that, definitely. Here, for example, situations where you would be on the brakes, and again the recuperation is being used. Yeah, the turning indicators are quite unique, right? Michelle thinks so too? Like a little old school sound, or what would you say?
Yeah.
The turning indicators, it doesn't fit to the vehicle, right? It's like the vehicle is more like, oh yeah, like it's fancy, unique, mini style, and then the turning indicators like, okay, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but Michelle thinks this too. So yeah, but it's not a big thing. It doesn't sound cheap or something. Just a little bit unusual, but why not? Let's check out. Yeah, we're still in the max e-drive mode. It's funny when you accelerate, it almost feels like the engine would be on, just sound-wise, but it isn't actually. And the interesting thing is also when you're switching from the auto e-drive to the max e-drive mode, the amount of power, the amount of throttle you can apply before the car switches into combustion mode changes. This is definitely very interesting. So let's see, when I hit the throttle more, there's this, still in the E mode, it's interesting. So you do have a substantial acceleration as well if you're driving all electric. That does work. So I can show you once more. Let me drop behind. So now from 90 kilometers, and let's go. Now keeping all electric. Yeah, go. See, it's not that powerful, and 120 kilometers now. So that's still quite okay, but of course the all-electric power is even more important in the city, because then it really gives you a decent punch. It's not about when you're already at speed or something that you have a big punch by that. So I think overall I always like to drive the plug-in hybrids because they give you these electric moments, and why not? And you can, for example, I drove to this event also with another plug-in hybrid, and then just plugged it in the hotel basement garage, and you can get some power back. So it always depends on the infrastructure. You know, to me, it's all about infrastructure, and when the infrastructure is good, then you can even better use these plug-in hybrids. And of course, when you lift your foot off the throttle, then you see, okay, you can always gain some energy back. By the way, about shifting modes, you can also go to this S shifting mode. It's not available in Max eDrive mode, so it's changed the driving mode automatically. In this S shifting mode, the gears are also turned higher, and you're going to see more spontaneous acceleration. And so a little bit similar than we have with the sports mode. So you can also individualize your driving experience by that. I think overall, quite interesting drive. We did try some acceleration right here. Still, because we have used the electric drive, we are very low in the fuel economy. Here at the moment it says 3.7 liters in 1 kilometers. Again, if that's really so realistic, always matter of perspective. And also shows me the electric consumption, which is at the moment at a little bit less than 11 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers. Yeah. What does it say? Not too much, but I can tell you so far, when I compare the figures with other plug-in hybrids, this looks quite decent. Of course, comes close to the X1 BMW. So I think it's really about this combination of the drivetrains, which can make it really efficient. Again, using, for example, the combustion engine here on the motorway, and then once again the electric drive predominantly in the city. Unless you're driving rather short commuting ways per day, then you can try to use all electric and then recharge again. So when you're staying like less than 50 kilometers, less than 30 miles, then it can definitely make sense to drive all electric only and then recharge again, but that so much depends on your driving profile. So let me sum up this driving part. The plug-in hybrid drivetrain brings so much more joy. It is quite powerful, so the most powerful in acceleration-wise then besides the John Cooper Works version. So that's definitely fun. The electric driving modes, like now, also fun. Silent in the city, that's definitely very cool. In both cases, if you really want to stress it, like now, I go to the Max eDrive mode, say, oh, we're in the city, combustion engine went on. I don't want it at the moment. I want to drive all electric now. I can switch that on. Now I'm all electric once again. Silent driving is always very cool, and you still have decent punch here, like this here in the city with electric drive. This works very well, no problem. Downside of this vehicle, the seating comfort, especially for tall people, not that good. The seats are very stiff. This will be a little bit better when you go with the fabric seats. Here the animal skin seats are also stiffer just from the surface. And the suspension is also very stiff. It drives sporty, it's fun. But comfort-wise, definitely, for example, the X1 would be better. So, yeah, you shouldn't expect the best comfort from this vehicle. That's the thing. So, very interesting driving impressions for today. Tell us your comments. And now to our conclusion for today with the Mini Countryman plug-in hybrid. In general, there were also some facelift changes. Actually, not too big, but quite nice. With the lamps, with the grille, the tail lamps in the rear, and also a top infotainment system here for the plug-in hybrid version. In general, it is the most attractive non-John Cooper Works version because it is the most powerful in the Mini lineup now besides the JCW. And also these electric driving moments are pretty cool. Silent driving in the city, and you can also be very efficient if you recharge frequently, because then you can use the optimum of this combined drivetrains. Exterior-wise, it's a styling object, no doubt about that. Interior, also a lot of interesting design cues. However, the comfort of the seats and the suspension, that was probably the worst thing today. So I felt this car should be a little bit more comfortable, especially being the SUV version. However, you also have a sporty go-kart feeling and like driving, as you know from Mini. And again, this drivetrain is actually very interesting to drive, definitely. More fun than probably only with the John Cooper Works version. There's also a review of that, and if you want to see an updated version of that, please also tell us in the comments. And also comment on this PHEV here for today, and in general, what do you think about the Countryman from this Mini lineup, which is, meanwhile, one of their most important models. Thanks so much for tuning in today, See you next time.